Justice with mercy. Judge was about to send her to prison until the courtroom cleaner stood up and said this. The courtroom was silent in the way rooms go silent when everyone knows what's coming next. The kind of silence that sits heavy in your chest and makes you afraid to breathe too loud. Before we go any further, I want you to do me a favor. Please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about second chances, unexpected grace, and the quiet people who change everything. Maya Torres stood before the bench with her hands folded, trying to stop them from shaking. She was 23 years old, wearing a borrowed blazer that didn't fit right, and she had not slept more than 2 hours in 3 days. The evidence had been presented, the security footage reviewed, the guilty verdict already read into the record. "Ms. Torres," the judge began, her voice measured and formal, "you have been found guilty of theft in the amount of $3,000 from your employer. Does anyone have anything to say before I pass sentence?" Maya's lawyer shifted in his seat but said nothing. They had already discussed this. There was nothing left to say. The footage was clear. She had taken the money. There was no defense for that. And that's when the sound came from the back of the courtroom, a chair scraping against old wood, slow and deliberate. Everyone turned. An elderly woman stood up near the last row of benches. She was small, maybe 5'2", with gray hair pulled back into a tight bun and deep lines around her eyes. She wore a janitorial uniform, the kind with a name patch stitched onto the chest. Beside her was a cleaning cart with a mop, but the woman's voice cut through, quiet and steady. "Your Honor, I need to speak." The woman took a breath. "My name is Rose Martinez. I clean this building. I don't know this young woman, but I need to say something before you send her away. If you believe that people are more than the worst thing they've ever done, if you believe that second chances can come from the most unexpected places, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in grace today. Let's continue." 3 months before that courtroom, Maya Torres had been working as a filing clerk at Henderson & Associates, a mid-sized law firm downtown. She made $11 an hour, which was just barely enough to cover rent on a one-bedroom apartment she shared with her 4-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily was everything. Bright, curious, obsessed with drawing pictures of butterflies and asking questions about why the sky changed colors. Maya worked double shifts when she could, sold plasma twice a month, and lived off rice and beans so Lily could have fruit snacks and the good cereal. Then came the diagnosis. Lily had a rare degenerative eye condition. Without surgery, she would be completely blind within 6 months. The procedure existed, it had a high success rate, but the insurance company labeled it experimental and denied the claim twice. The cost of the surgery was $12,000. Maya's savings account had $340. She went to her boss, Mr. Henderson, a senior partner at the firm. She asked, with as much dignity as she could keep in her voice, if there was any way to get an advance or a short-term loan from the company. He looked at her over his reading glasses and said, "Ms. Torres, we're not a charity. Perhaps you need to prioritize better, or find employment that better suits your circumstances." Maya left his office, went to the bathroom, and cried for 7 minutes. Then she washed her face, went back to her desk. She worked every weekend. She sold everything she owned that had any value. She scraped together $2,800. It wasn't enough, and Lily's vision was getting worse. She started bumping into furniture. She couldn't see her favorite cartoons anymore. The doctor gave them 3 weeks. After that, the damage would be permanent. Maya was out of time, out of options, out of hope. And then one night she stayed late at the firm to finish filing. She was alone in the office, and she saw that the petty cash drawer had been left unlocked. It was never left unlocked. She took exactly $3,000, closed the drawer, and walked out. The security camera in the corner blinked red. She never even noticed it. The next morning, Mr. Henderson reviewed the footage. Within an hour, the police were called. Maya was arrested at her apartment in front of her daughter. The money was already gone. Maya had made the hospital deposit the same night. There was no way to return what had already been spent. Meanwhile, someone else was paying attention, someone no one would have expected. Rose Martinez had been cleaning the courthouse for 22 years. She worked the night shift, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., mopping floor, clean desk. She was 67 years old. She had never married. She had no children. Most people knew her face, but not her name. She was part of the building, like the marble columns and the brass door handles, seen but not noticed. She cleaned the holding cells, and every night that week she heard Maya crying, talking to a photograph, whispering to her little girl through the walls. Rose understood that sound. She had made it herself once, 40 years ago. Back in the courtroom, every eye was on Rose. Judge Warren set down her gavel. "Ms. Martinez, if you don't know the defendant, why are you interrupting this proceeding?" Rose reached into the pocket of her uniform and pulled out a folded envelope. Her hands were steady. "Because I know what she stole the money for," Rose said, "and I know what happens when a mother can't save her child." The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the motivation has already been established. It doesn't change the fact that—" "Sit down, counselor," Judge Warren said quietly. Her eyes were still on Rose. "Go ahead, Ms. Martinez." Rose took a breath. 40 years ago, she said, "I had a daughter. Her name was Sophia. She had the same condition this woman's little girl has. Back then, I was a single mother. I had no insurance. I worked 3 jobs, but I couldn't get the money in time." The courtroom was completely still. "My daughter went blind when she was 5 years old," Rose continued, her voice steady but soft. "She lived her whole life in the dark. She never saw her own face after the age of 4. She died in an accident when she was 19, and I have spent every day since then wondering what her life would have been if I could have saved her sight." Rose looked directly at Maya for the first time. "Your Honor, I'm not saying what she did was right. Stealing is wrong. I know that. But I also know what desperation does to a good person. I know what it feels like to watch your child suffer and be completely powerless to stop it." She placed the envelope on the bailiff's desk. "That envelope has $3,000 in it. Every dollar I've saved in the last 2 years, I'm giving it to Mr. Henderson to cover what was taken." There were audible gasps in the courtroom. Rose wasn't finished. "And I'm asking this court to let me take her sentence. I'm old. I have no family. No one depends on me. But that little girl needs her mother, and she needs her sight." The silence that followed was absolute. Judge Warren stared at Rose. The prosecutor looked down. And for the first time since the trial began, Mr. Henderson, the man whose money had been stolen, looked deeply uncomfortable. What happened next didn't come out of nowhere. And before I show you what the judge decided, I need you to understand something. 3 people made this moment possible. People Rose had never met. People who had no idea their small choices would end up here in this courtroom in this moment. Because mercy creates mercy. And second chances are given by people who once received them. Stay with me. He told her something she never forgot. Justice without mercy isn't justice, it's just revenge. She built her entire career on that lesson. 22 years ago, Rose Martinez walked into the courthouse looking for work. She was 45 years old, recently widowed, with no work history and broken English. The building supervisor, a man named Frank Delgado, looked at her application and saw all the reasons to say no. But Frank had once been homeless. Someone gave him a job when no one else would, so he hired Rose. "Everyone deserves a first chance," he told her, "even if it comes late." Rose never forgot that. That's why she believed in second chances. The night security guard who worked the same shift as Rose. For years, he watched her save money, little by little, from every paycheck. "What are you saving for, Rose?" he asked once. She smiled. "I don't know yet, but someday someone will need it." All of these people, Judge Warren, Frank, Marcus, were in that courtroom. Their choices, their mercy, their second chances. All of it arrived with Rose. Then Judge Warren did something unusual. She looked directly at Mr. Henderson. "Counselor, you are an officer of this court and a member of the bar. You're also an employer who left $3,000 in an unlocked drawer accessible to an employee you had already refused to help despite knowing her circumstances. Henderson shifted in his seat. I am not excusing Ms. Torres's actions, the judge said, but I am noting yours. You may want to reflect on what kind of workplace culture creates this kind of desperation. She picked up her gavel. This court is adjourned. Lily's surgery was successful. Her vision was fully restored. She saw her mother's face clearly for the first time. Here's what I need you to take from this story. Justice without mercy is just revenge. Thank you for listening. You being here matters. Subscribe.